Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rocha Revolution. We're really super excited to have my good friend John Lira joining us today for the Rocha Revolution here on Substack. John, how are you, my brother?
I'm doing fantastic. It's some good weather down here in San Antonio. And of course, I'm with my good friend Chuck Rocha to chop it up and talk all things Texas, politics, congressional races, and everything else that's going on in our country. So great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
I do not need you rubbing good weather in right now because I got up before the sun came up and rode my bicycle to the gym, and it was 21 degrees here in DC. And it was just colder than a well digger's ass. And I cannot wait to get out of here for a little bit of for my winter break in a whole nother country that I'll talk to you about in a little bit. But the reason I wanted to have John, who I've known for years on the Substack, he has a very, very impressive resume. If you've heard me over on the Latino Vote podcast and on TV talking about what's going on in Texas with the gerrymandering and what happened with them redrawing all these congressional seats and how me and Mike Madrid and a lot of professionals think that Republicans may have overstepped by creating some Latino majority congressional seats that all these Latinos are going to vote for Republicans like they voted for Donald Trump just a year ago. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you just look at the election results we've had in Virginia, New Jersey, and the Miami mayor, that is not, in fact, the case. That Latinos are aggravated right now. There's a frustration. There's an anxiety in our community from iced, masked agents just creating terror everywhere they go, to the price of everything not coming down like Donald Trump promised, but actually going up because of his tariffs and his economic policies. They created congressional seats like Texas 35, which is a San Antonio-based congressional seat where my good friend John Lira has decided to run for Congress. That is a double-digit Trump district, but is not a double-digit Republican district when Trump's not on the ticket, which is an opportunity district, in my thoughts, to be a real swing district. John, before you tell everybody about your congressional race, let's take a step back and introduce everybody to your resume, because I think it's really important for them to understand why you're a viable candidate. And I think your resume and the things that you've done along the way is really the reason why folks should take a look at this race and probably donating some money to you.
Thank you. I'd love that opportunity. And I'll tell the viewers out there that my story, the most valuable thing that I bring to this race is just being deeply rooted in the new district that it covers. You know, I was born and raised in Southeast San Antonio. This has Military Drive, where my recruitment, my Marine Recruitment Center was. It has the church community, it has my school district community. It has everything in it this time around that they drew out of my district when I ran in Texas 23 back in 2022. But my story is a San Antonio story, Chuck. I started off as my first job was a busboy on the San Antonio Riverwalk, like so many San Antonians here that Riverwalk has provided jobs to. The smartest thing I've ever done was as a 17-year-old in my senior year was raise my hand and enlist into the United States Marine Corps. That really planted the seed of service, the seed of wanting to be at the forefront of the issues that matter most to me. I took off to the Marines, and in my 11 and a half years of service, I had 2 combat tours to Iraq. The first was in the launch of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was one of the part of the first forces that was to go into Iraq. I like to tell people that if America was ever recognized as a liberating force in Iraq by the Iraqis, we were there for that. But then I went back a year and a half later with Lucky Lima. I actually served with now Senator Ruben Gallego. Actually outranked him in that deployment. But yeah, we were with Lucky Lima. We lost 48 Marines and sailors during the height of the insurgency in just 8 months there. So that really had a significant impact on me. Used my GI Bill to transfer from an intelligence analyst into a policy analyst, because just like I was helping military commanders make tough decisions by providing them the most up-to-date information, I wanted to do that to our elected leaders who are making decisions about our country, our families here, but also about troops as they came back from war and how we were going to care for them. So that launched me on a career in public service. My first job as a civil servant was at AmeriCorps as a Veterans and Military Families Fellow. I was helping veterans who wanted to continue to serve after their service find opportunities in their local nonprofits. Then I went to the U.S. Small Business Administration, Office of Veterans Business Development, empowering veterans in a whole different way, allowing them to become job creators, and go back to their community and create commerce and economic incentive. From there, I went to this really cool commission, Chuck, that was created by Senator John McCain, called the National Commission on Military, National, and Public Service. And the whole job was to help Congress determine if women should be required to register for the draft now that combat roles were open to women. But beyond that, it was how do we create meaningful pathways to service like the military, like AmeriCorps, Peace Corps, and into civil service. So all these things have brought me to the forefront. I mean, I served in Congressman Jimmy Panetta's office, managing his veterans portfolio, international affairs portfolio. And then, of course, I ran in 2021. I launched my first campaign for Congress in Texas's biggest congressional district, Texas 23. This was the district that right in the middle of our campaign had the horrible Uvalde shooting in there. We did good. We fought hard. We learned a lot in that one, but came up just a little bit short. But overall, listen, I'm a San Antonio boy through and through. I love Texas. I love that San Antonio truly embraces the culture that is the Tex-Mex culture and really embraces our Mexican-American roots here. And beyond that, I've been on the forefront of public service, whether it's military service, public service, civil service, community service, working with nonprofits. So we're ready to do this. We learned a lot last campaign, and having that one under our belt and a good sense of support, we're ready to charge into Texas 35 and make the Republicans' redistricting plan backfire.
Well, that's why I think it was so important to go through that resume, because folks think about Latinos and think about the history of Latinos in our military, the history of Latinos in public service. And there's a long, long history of that in San Antonio and in South Texas. There's lots of Air Force bases and military installments all throughout South Texas, a lot of them in San Antonio. I remember some of my first work down there for Ciro Rodriguez when he ran in a special election for Congress in 1996, and learning about all of this down there in the south side of San Antonio. As we talk about San Antonio, because the district is not just San Antonio, talk about where the district is in San Antonio and going up 35 there, and then tell us a little bit about the demographics of this new seat that the Republicans have gerrymandered. Think they have a seat here that they can pick up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the new Texas 35 has kind of been Frankenstein together over three congressional districts. A little bit of Greg Casar's, a little bit of Henry Cuellar's, and a little bit of Monica de la Cruz's. Right now, it covers south, southeast, and northeast San Antonio. So basically, the far outskirts of southeast Bexar County, where I was born and raised. This is Hispanic majority communities. The whole district itself is a majority district, but 58% itself just Hispanics. There's actually more registered Democrats in this district than there are Republicans. These are just kind of a low.
Let me stop you, John. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there like a lot more a lot more registered Democrats?
There is a lot more registered Democrats. What they did is they just jammed it with the lower performing precincts out here. So it would be a turnout game.
Low propensity Latino voters that are registered to vote but haven't always participated in off-year elections or participated in elections at all. But the last count I looked at your district, there was like 70 or 80,000 more registered Democrats. Do I have that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, give or take a couple of thousand of there, but yes,
Sure.
we have. It's more of a turnout game for us. There's definitely we want to turn them to registered Democrats into Democratic voters, and I think we have a real opportunity this time. 75% of our vote is going to come out, especially in the Democratic primary, will come out of San Antonio alone. About 20% out of Guadalupe County. That's mostly based in the seat of Seguin, but there's some other areas like Cibolo, Schertz as well. And then about 2.5% from Wilson County, 2.5% from Karnes County. Those are a bit of the redder counties. Guadalupe County is about a 60-40 Republican edge as well. So we're gonna continue. Turnout is our game. We're gonna continue to go to these red counties as well. Me being a military veteran, it often gets me handshakes. It often gets me into conversations. And after having these important conversations with folks who might not be 100% ready to agree with me, I think that we are able to find some common ground. And I see giving themselves like a little permission slip, right? Well, they're telling themselves, well, I vote for the person. I don't look at party, but that they're a Republican. But I think they're starting to give themselves that permission slip to consider other candidates.
I think that's really important. I think that's why you're such a good fit for this district, not only with your line of service through your career of giving back to your country, but you're rooted in this community, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. There's so many working class people that are looking for results and looking for somebody that understands them, not based off of any party. The national parties would like for us to go down that rabbit hole, but regular voters just want their lives to be better. And I think that that's part of what your campaign has been about. The other part it's been about is going around and in meeting people. I know you've been working your butt off, going to lots of different events, community-based organizations, and getting out in the streets of your community where you were born and raised. Can you tell me and the viewers what you're hearing from voters about what their top concerns are, or some would say what the top issues are in that community and what you're hearing at the doors and in the streets?
Absolutely happy to, because we've been hitting the streets hard. The Supreme Court decision put a big delay on kind of where we can go as far as we didn't know what the secure lines, the final lines were going to be, but that didn't stop us from going to food drives in the community, that food distributions. We went to church events where they were handing out food, especially during the shutdown and the pausing of the SNAP benefits. People are looking for an end in sight, Chuck. They're seeing prices continuing to rise, and they're wondering what is going to be the turning point beyond that. I mean, they put $25 in gas at the end of the week. That used to get him to the end of the week and to go to work, but now it's only getting them to half a week. Medications. A lot of folks out here are on medications, and that's starting to eat away at their budget. So it's all about working with them, listening to them, saying, what are your pain points? What are the and it all has to do with the economy. It all has to do with rising prices at this point. They just don't see any end in sight. And I will tell you, especially here in Texas and especially in this district, along with some of the economic instability that people are facing, we do have to do a little bit more voter education. They're very confused by the new lines. They don't know if they're voting for the congressman that they voted for last election, or if it's going to have to be a totally new one, or if they're even in the same congressional district as last time around. So it's a little bit more education on our part, letting them know what happened and that the lines have been drawn and that this is an open seat and a competitive seat. Another thing that we're hearing about, so just to summarize that, they know when they can smell bullshit a mile away. They know when the goalpost has been moved on them, and there's a feeling that the Republicans are trying to cheat by this gerrymander. They're trying to take something that they didn't deserve, representation that they didn't earn. And that feeling is pretty prominent out here, especially in 35. And I will say there is an element of what they're seeing on TV, what they're seeing on their phone screens. You don't have to have a TikTok account to see all the ICE videos that are floating around of people that look exactly like our neighbors, or look like our tias, look like our primas, look like our nephews, look like our nieces, getting wrapped up, regardless of age, 68, 16, getting wrapped up, getting tossed around, disappearing for a week, having charges brought up on even veterans. Even our veterans are not safe, or are being questioned and are being harassed and thrown in the back of vehicles. So that is very concerning. I think you've seen, just like we have, poll after poll showing that the Hispanic support for President Trump, especially here in Texas, is melting faster than a raspa in July out here. It is gone. It is liquid at this point. And we want to capitalize that. We don't want to chastise them. We want to say, listen, you were lied to, and the system is failing you right now. Put somebody in there that can bring some stability, battle-tested leadership in Washington to be your voice, and we want to be that candidate.
I think John brings up a great point, and he's not just using hyperbole. How about that for the big word for the boy here? It's real what he's talking about, because there's been elections that are proving the proof points so far. And that is, in the election in New Jersey, in the counties where Donald Trump overperformed the most, where Latino voters were just a year ago, there was a dramatic shift back to Democrats because, to John's point, they were very aggravated about what they've seen with ICE, with the price of living, and with just things going on in our government that shouldn't be happening, whether him tearing down the West Wing of the White House or going after an icon of movie and theaters with just direct slander. Folks want some common sense and some common courtesy and real leadership out of our government, and they're disgusted by what they're seeing. And I think you're seeing that now at the ballot box, not only in Virginia, not only in New Jersey, but in a Miami mayor's race that hadn't went Democrat in 30 years, that swept just a couple weeks ago. There's definitely momentum and going in our direction, and that's what John's talking about tapping into. Remember, there are tens of thousands of more registered Democrats in this district, but they need to hear from John Lira and hear from his campaign to know that he's one of them and that he will fight for them. And that's the policies that he's going to be advocating for. Tell the viewers about what's the timing here. When is your primary? And is there opposition in the Democratic Party? And is there primaries in the Republican Party?
Sure. Well, Texas has one of the earliest primaries in the country. Ours is going to be March 3rd. We have a very short primary season and a very long general election season. So, the Supreme Court holding off as late as they did not do any favors for any of the candidates, especially on the Democratic side. But we do have a Democratic primary. We know we are a contested primary. There are 3 others in this race. I'm one of 4, but I can tell you this. We are the only ones that have run for Congress before. I am a former Democratic nominee. I ran against Tony Gonzalez in 2022, the year of that horrible Uvalde tragedy. So just like I had to do back then, they're going to have to find their candidate sea legs. They're going to have to find their base of support, find their voice, find their base of donors, and we've got a significant head start in that endeavor. So I'll tell you, on the other side, though, the Republicans have 9 candidates in this race for this district. It did
9?
exactly 9 of them was the final count. It did exactly what the Republicans wanted them to do, was salivate over this district. They're circling it like sharks. And I tell you what, they're for sure going to go to a runoff. And I think that the runoff is going to push them far to the right and far up MAGA alley, and they're going to be unpalatable to the general elected. They're going to push themselves so far right that when they finally get out of that bruising runoff of theirs, they're going to be unrecognizable to anything that the general public wants as far as a shift away from MAGA policy. So we have that a slight advantage as well. Listen, it's going to be we're fighting still for 51%. You know, we're not going to keep we're going to keep pushing to create that separation and prove that we are the best candidate, battle-tested candidate. The DCCC has already announced that this district will go on their districts in playlist. That's that super secret list of about 20 that once you're in, the full weight of the National Democratic apparatus will come in and try to back you with a little bit of funding. So this is serious business here. We need a serious candidate who's battle tested, who has built the team. Chuck, I have a team now that I could only have imagined having in the first time I ran. So we're ready to take care of business, and we're ready to show the Republicans that they can't just come and gerrymander a seat. They gave themselves a false advantage. I'm a Marine veteran. I love fighting uphill. I love when I'm called the underdog, because that makes us work harder. So I feel like I have a team of political Marines, not real Marines, political Marines on our side, though, ready to charge the hill with us.
Well, it sounds like somebody else I worked for named Ruben Gallego back in the day. We're going to do this again at the end of the podcast, but here in the middle of the podcast, tell people where they can go and donate and what your website is.
Absolutely. My website is very easy, liraforcongress.com, Lira. Like I say, just like the old Italian currency before the lira, before the euro dollar, Lira. Lira for Congress. We are on Facebook. We're on Substack. We're on Blue Sky. We are on X. We are on every social media platform, and we're active. We're constantly putting out policy position statements, constantly showing how we're in the neighborhood, connecting with the voters that we need to. So yes, it would be an honor if you were to like, to follow, to share us on all of those platforms. We can really use the exposure. And oh, by the way, just $35 from every subscriber that looks at this, and we'd be in really good position to take on the Republicans in November.
Money is still the mother milk of politics. We got to have enough to run these races. John has been doing a really good job. And for those of you wanting the Democrats to take back the U.S. House of Representatives, there are races that we have to win that are pure toss-ups. There's another chunk of races like this one that if you win all the toss-ups, it's still not enough in certain instances. So we need to win these lean Republican seats that John has put his whole what I would say life on hold to do. And these are the kind of races we have to win if we really want to run up the numbers and the majorities there. And this is exactly the kind of race because the Republicans in this race have estimated that Latinos are going to vote overwhelmingly for Republicans like they did for president under Donald Trump. And it's just not the case. As we move into the holidays, John, when you're not busy putting up those pretty twinkle lights down at the Riverwalk, tell me about San Antonio in the holidays. What's it like, and what are folks doing in Texas and in San Antonio? And give folks a glimpse into this district as we move into the holiday season.
Well, the holiday season is one of the best times, one of my favorite times for sure in San Antonio. You mentioned our beautiful Riverwalk and all the thousands of blinking lights that we have there. What an experience. Every year, my daughter and I take a trip to the Riverwalk and we have our favorite spots. We usually go to the Minger Hotel and try to take a picture of some ghosts that might be floating around. We always get our hot chocolate from Starbucks. We always go to La Mansion Hotel, where it was my first job as a busboy on the Riverwalk, to have some food. So Christmas in San Antonio, downtown San Antonio, is one of the most beautiful spots. But beyond that, in the communities, I mean, tias and abuelas are getting together to have tamaladas, make tamales, exchange tamales. We're having cookie exchanges. Families are getting ready to do, the white elephant and planning their gatherings here. So there's always a lot to do. The weather is not a restricting factor here in San Antonio, as you could imagine. You can go on a nice sweaty jog on Christmas Day. You can go play golf on Christmas Day. There's not going to be any weather impacting any of that. But as far as, bringing the families together, I think this is really important. This might be one of the toughest Christmases on record since COVID, as far as price, as far as really trying to make limited dollars stretch the furthest, with the price increases. So this is a time when being around family is the priceless gift that you give. Showing up and being there together and exchanging laughs, but also talking about the things that matter. A lot of families are experiencing hurt, and it's better to come together with your family members through the holidays and make it a little bit more than about gifts, but more about just togetherness and being peaceful human beings with each other. Even if there's a Republican in your family, be nice to them, welcome them, and enjoy the season.
Tell me how this influence of ICE in our communities and the way that the Trump administration has dealt with immigration. Have you seen any effect in San Antonio? Have you heard people talking about it? Are they only concerned with the price of ground meat and coffee? Or have you heard community talk about what you're seeing, if anything at all, because you're in Texas, with ICE and ICE raids?
Well, absolutely, Chuck. This is I think 58% Hispanic majority city, San Antonio. I think it's probably more than that, maybe closer to 60 at this point. But this is a Hispanic majority, so absolutely, when we hear of an ICE raid on our San Pedro and Bassi that arrested 150 people in one sting, we get very concerned about that. There's been reports of them showing up in local San Antonio immigration courts. As people are waiting or just after they finish seeing the judge, they get accosted there in the hallway. We
But
have places
John,
like,
but John, I thought that we were just going to be deporting bad people that were here raping and pillaging and stealing things, just the bad people.
oh
If
no, yeah, no, this is, I mean, listen, that's who we should be focused on. Honestly, I don't mind if we focus on the criminals, because if they come here to do harm or they're perpetuating crime, absolutely get them out of here. Nobody would argue with that. I don't argue with that. But these are not the people they're targeting. Chuck, that they're targeting our tias who are making our homes, are doing home construction here. Our tias who are working in the restaurant, eating the great food that we have here in San Antonio. So there is concern. We have pulgas here, flea markets, a great place where commerce is. They get food there. They can listen to live music there. They can sell things there, buy things there. Our flea markets have been ghost towns. Everybody's afraid to go to them on the weekends like they used to, because they're afraid that ICE presence might be there. So it definitely has impacted. I mean, this is, again, this is a Spanish speaking majority district. They pay attention to the news. They know what's going on, and no matter how you try to paste over it, even if it was trying to be good intent, um, nobody deserves to be grabbed by armed men, flexi-cuffed, thrown behind the back in the van, and disappeared, no matter who you are. So it's definitely having an impact, and we're seeing it in the poll numbers, I believe.
As you're thinking about your strategy to win the primary and then win in the general, and probably one of the most competitive House seats there, I know that your military service and your service commitment to our country really makes you distinct in the way that people look at you, right? And I think that that's a good thing. We had this same good problem with Ruben Gallego of how you run a campaign focused on service to the country, but then also really letting folks know that you're the product of a local community and that you understand what it's like to be a boss boy on the Riverwalk for your first job. There's so many folks in San Antonio who can relate with that, right? There's so many folks there. And so when you're putting together your strategy and you talk about your messaging and you go up to the door, I think I'd like for you, because you have been a candidate several times, when you're talking to voters who you don't know if a Democrat, you don't know if you're not working off of a list, you're just meeting people at the flea market and you're talking to them. Do you lead with this? I'm John Lira. I'm a Marine vet. I grew up here. I'm a person of the community. Tell us your pitch when you're making the pitch for yourself when you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah, appreciate this. And I don't ever lead with, I'm John Lira, I'm a candidate for Congress, because I think that taints the conversation a little bit, but when you don't lead with it, people are kind of wondering why this stranger is so happy and eager to, to talk with them. But I like that, I like extending a hand. Hey, John Lira, are you from this neighborhood? Oh, I live, 2 blocks down. Okay, what school did you go to? Uh, Starting those little conversations, I think, where do you work at? Are you retired? You still working? Oh, okay, all right. And and then it opens up. Then they start telling you about their kids, where they went to school. They start opening up, and feeling a little bit comfortable for you. And then I sneak it in. I don't lead with, I'm John Lear, I'm a candidate. You should want to talk to me. I look for commonality with them. I honestly look for commonality. And just like Ruben Gallego told me, Senator Gallego told me, you got to show up where they are. You got to go to the boxing matches. You got to go to, the car shows that they have on the South Side at the little coffee shops. You got to show up to things. They're not going to go to you organically unless you give them a reason to. You must go with them. You must be the conversation starter. So I've never had, a problem connecting with people. One of my earliest jobs after I got out of the Marines, I was actually an usher at what was used to be the AT&T Center. Now it's the Frost Bank Center, but I used to be an usher at Spurs games, welcoming people in, showing them to their seats. So I just think that is having conversations with people has always been very easy, and trying to find that commonality, that thread that might bind us together to keep the conversation going. Of course, at the end, you got to plug yourself and listen. I'm a candidate for Congress. I'm a Marine veteran, and I want to continue to serve my community, which is why I'm doing this. Thanks for sharing your concerns for me. But we always have to ask them, and I always try to ask them, what do you want out of your congressman? What do you expect your representative in Washington to do for you? What are the things that you would expect? What are your pain points right now? You've got to make it all about them. They don't want to talk about you. They don't care who you are. You're a stranger to them, but they would like to talk about how they're feeling. They want to talk about their pain points that they want to see change, or their expectations of their next member of Congress in Washington. So we try to keep it focused on them. Like I said, I can rattle off my resume if that's what they want to hear, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they want to hear. But they do want to know that somebody's a fighter, somebody who has been and put themselves on the front lines and been in places where leadership is needed, and somebody who's answered the call several times. And that I do try to emphasize.
I was sent by the steelworkers down to San Antonio in 1997 for that special election for Ciro Rodriguez. It was the first time I'd been to San Antonio. I was in my early mid 20s. I'd never really been there. I got to stay downtown on the Riverwalk, and I spent a lot of time living at Ciro and Carolina's house on South Military Drive. The district was south. It took in Seguin. This was back in the early 90s, so it looked a lot like the district you're running in. And culturally, I learned so much about a city. I tell a funny story about how I showed up in the campaign office one morning and everybody was digging these, what I would call these aluminum foil packets out of these brown paper bags. And I didn't know what we were doing. And we were all going out to knock on doors that day, but they kept pulling this stuff out of all these brown paper bags. And they all had stuff written on each paper bag. This one said potato, this one said chorizo. And that's the first time I discovered breakfast tacos. Now, you would think that a Mexican from East Texas, y'all got to remember, I grew up with a white grandmother and we had a lot of biscuits and gravy and not a lot of breakfast tacos. So I thought this was the best campaign tactic I had ever seen. And I gained so much weight eating breakfast tacos. Now, that leads me to some real controversial things I need to ask you about as we conclude our interview here. And one would be, in San Antonio, is it flour tortillas or corn tortillas?
Oh, man.
Oh, here we go. I like it already.
It depends. Yeah. Yeah. A common breakfast taco, I say go with the flour. But if you're going to have tortillas with a full plate of carnitas or some sort of beef or soup, then you got to go with the flour. So, I think that breakfast tacos are probably the only thing that are best with the flour. But if you're going to go, like I said, with some sort of asada or carne guisada or, anything of significant meat, you definitely want a good flour tortilla. I mean, a good corn tortilla for that. Barbacoa is best on corn tortillas. I will never eat a flour tortilla with our barbacoa. So yeah, it depends though. Like menudo is very good. Caldo is very good with a nice rolled up corn tortilla. But I thought you were going to ask me who has better tacos of San Antonio and Austin.
We're going to get there. Don't get ahead of me. Don't get ahead of me, damn it. We're going to get there. So the second question is, as you go around and talk to people I need to know in San Antonio that does not have a professional football team. Does a majority of people support the Dallas Cowboys or the Houston Texans?
Easy question. Cowboys, hands down. Hands down. Yeah, I mean, you could drive around through the neighborhood in some of the South Side, and it is a full-fledged Cowboys tailgate every game. I'm talking about with inflatables and flags and big screen TVs that are projecting on the side of houses. So yeah, San Antonio is firmly and safely blue. And
Cowboy
what I mean
country.
by blue, I mean Cowboys blue.
Nice, nice. Now we're going to get to the damn taco question. So I have had some of the best Mexican food I've ever had in my life in San Antonio. You have not, this is not for Mexican food. This is to get tacos. I need the top 3 taco joints in San Antonio.
Ooh, wow. Now you're
There
really
we
gonna
go.
start
I
some
can
now you're really gonna start some
cause
beef.
you to
No
lose
pun
this
intended.
entire election.
Well, listen, one of my favorite restaurants, period, especially for tacos, is Don Pedro's, all the way down Military Drive. It's been a favorite. I mean, I had my high school graduation dinner there. They have some of the best tortilla soup there, some of the best enchiladas, and I would go there first for tacos as well. One of them that's a little bit closer to us, is on the southeast side here is probably, I was born and raised off this. People might have mixed opinions, but Rocky's Taco House. I have been eating Rocky's tacos since I was knee high to my mother. She basically says, if I would have let you, you would have eaten nothing but bean and cheese tacos from Rocky's as a kid. And I said, Mom, you did let me, and I did eat nothing but bean and cheese taco. So, and then the third one, let's see here. Ah, man. I think, I gotta give love to the ones that are, it's a bit of a chain, but Taqueria Guadalajara. There's about 3 of them in the area here, but every single one of them is quality food. They're always packed. You know what you're gonna get. If you only have a couple of bucks that you wanna spend on food, you're gonna get a big plate of stuff. So, those are my controversial picks, but, they're my favorites. I love them. There's a good taco place, restaurant or taco shop around every corner here in San Antonio. So try them all, because the ones that look like the smallest kind of shack, look like a shack and most run down, those are probably the ones that have the best food in them. So I would recommend to anybody coming to San Antonio, try any taco house. You'll love them, and they're better than Austin.
John, I really want to appreciate you for taking the time for being on here. For those of you listening, John Lira is running for Congress in the Texas 35th District. I don't brag on many candidates, and you heard me and you watched me on social media talk about folks who don't live their values. Lots of these candidates they hire white consultants from New York City. They get to, they do all the things that they get pulled into. John Lira, and I'm proud to say that we're working with him with my firm. He's also brought on other Latino firms, Texas firms. Adrian Sines, one of the best consultants we have in the industry. Lots of other folks around him. I really, really admire John. He's always lived his values. He's always walked the walk. He's a good friend of mine. Each one of you need to go to his website. I'm finna kick it to him to give you that. And you need to donate today. If you want to help flip a seat from Republican to Democrat, this is the one you invest in. John, thanks for being here. And on the way out, tell us your website and how people can help.
Absolutely. Chuck, it's been an absolute honor to join you today. I'd like to end with this. In Texas, they may have drawn the lines on the map, but we're drawing a line in the sand. We're going to make Republican gerrymandering plan backfire. Texas 35 is the seat to do it. John Lira, I'm the candidate to do it. Battle-tested leadership, a campaign team that is ready to meet the moment, and it would be an honor to earn your support. You can learn more about me at liraforcongress.com, Lira for Congress at any of the social media sites, including Facebook, Instagram, Substack, X, Blue Sky, Substack. We have all of them, and we're very active on them. You can learn a lot from me. Just $35 to help us win Texas 35 will go a long way, especially before the end of this month. So thanks again. We're ready to keep up the good fight. How we fight because you've seen us before. So, Chuck, we're ready to get it on.
Thanks, everybody, for being here this week. Hope everybody has a happy Christmas. We're not going to be on next week because we want to respect everybody for the holidays. I'll see you after Christmas and New Year's. Y'all be good.